The following program is a public access production. AT&T Broadband is required to provide time on this channel and make it available to its customers pursuant to its franchise agreements with the communities we serve. AT&T Broadband is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of AT&T Broadband or its affiliates.
Get scared. Well, every time you're near me, I'm uneasy. It's unnatural. It's weird. Yeah, weird. Well, every time you're next to me, you have this strange effect on me. Well, when I see you, I feel weird. Weird. Yeah, weird. Yeah, weird. It's weird.
Welcome to Contempo. I am your host, Roberta Markbright. Thank you so much, Twang Bang. We are having fun already, and this group is going to be at First Night in Evanston. We will talk about that. And we are looking at Red Klatz, hi, on drums, and Itzy Rothowski. Thank you both so much. You're very, thank you. And I love your lyrics because you speak to the people. They're going to be at First Night Evanston. And what is First Night?
First Night is this wonderful New Year's Eve celebration of the arts that we have been doing in Evanston for now our 10th year.
10 years already.
Yes, amazing.
It is. Well, you've been with us, I think, 3 or 4 times.
I have.
Yes.
And thank you for having us back again and giving us an opportunity.
I have to, Lois Rowade, and my gosh, I have to, you're the festival coordinator.
Yes, I am.
And Martha Broody, I apologize. You are the program committee chair. I just got so intrigued with the music, I just forgot myself.
Twang Bang.
Yeah, right. Twang Bang. And by the way, they have appeared in Japan and many high-class festivals around Chicago and the country. So anyway, tell us about First Night.
And First Night is another high-class event
Definitely.
that they will be able to put on their resume now. I
Yes.
think this may be the first time they have performed in Evanston. And they will be joining about 45 other performing groups on our 16 indoor stages, wherein people can hear any kind of music they love. Jazz, blues, gospel, folk music, classical music. We have comedy groups, dance bands, dance companies.
And all throughout Evanston. And First Night is a program to appeal to families, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
It's a non-alcoholic event, celebration of the arts, and it's designed to be family-oriented. And that can be families of all shapes, sizes, age ranges. It's a multi-age event.
Well, speaking of sizes, we have here with us also, I hope I pronounced this correctly, you are Shreyash Palshikar, and you are also going to be at First Night, and you are a magician. You know who you are, I'm just letting the audience know. And tell us about yourself.
Well, let's see. I was born in India. I was raised in Oregon, and I've been in Chicago since 1997. I go back and forth between India and Chicago, and I try to kind of blend Indian and American-style magic in my act.
Well, we'd love to see examples of how you're going to perform at First Night. Do you know where he will be, what building he will be, either one of you? But, oh, that's an unfair question.
At the moment, I'm pulling a blank here, Shreyash.
But people will find out when they come to the...
We have the whole program right here.
Okay, good. And how can... I imagine the programs will be at different businesses all over Evanston before the event.
Programs are available now at a number of Evanston stores, but probably the easiest way for your viewers would be to go to our website,
which is
firstnighthevanston.org, and the entire schedule is up there. You can print it out and then sort of plan where you want to go, because there are so many things to choose from that it's a good idea if you kind of think about it a little bit ahead of time.
That is good. That is very good. And you are wearing First Night buttons, which we always love to see. Now tell us about your history. When did you start in magic?
Well, I started when I was a very little kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old, and just have kind of continued from there. I started juggling a little bit after that, and then started acting after that, and I've kind of started putting them all together into a couple of acts that I do.
Now, I think you have an uncle who is a famous magician, is that right?
Yeah,
Or-
he was a magician in India, and I grew up in the States, so I only got to see him every couple of years when we would visit. But I have some of his old playbills, some of his old equipment that he used to perform with, and I actually got to see him perform a couple of times before he passed away. So
Well, do you think he was an influence on you?
certainly, I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to say exactly how, but just to think that wow, somebody in my family, made a living doing magic in India,
That's
definitely intrigued me about that.
Encouraging, and maybe it's in the genes a little bit. Maybe you.
That's what my grandma says.
Oh, well, grandmas are always right.
Yeah.
So you're going to interact with us, I believe.
Yeah, that was my plan. I've got
Okay.
a couple of little tricks. In fact, the first one speaks to your first question, which is kind of a little story trick about how I first got started in magic. I was a little kid, and what happened is my uncle would send my dad letters and say, oh, can you go to the magic shop and buy me this prop? It's not available in India, and we were living in the States. And so my dad would go to the magic shop to buy his brother some sort of magic item, and I would tag along with him. And one time I went, and I got very excited because I saw that they were selling magic cards in the shop. And I'd always wanted to learn to do some card tricks. So I said, wow, can I buy these magic cards? And my dad, he's very supportive. He said, well, if you really want to buy magic cards, that's fine. And he bought me this pack of magic cards. Now, I hadn't bothered to learn exactly how they worked, but the guy in the shop told me that this was a kind of pack where you could just spread out the cards, and someone could pick any card they like. They could put it back anywhere they like, and even if they shuffle the deck while you're not looking, you can always name their card, and you'll always be right. So I was very excited. And the guy had also said, you don't need to do any practice to do the trick. And I said, that's perfect. So I took it home, and this is when I learned my first important lesson in magic. I opened up the pack, and I found out that you have to be very careful with what you buy at a magic shop. Because I could just spent, yeah.
Well, we have to tell our audience that there is absolutely nothing on either side of any card.
Yeah, they might be able to see that as well. So I had just purchased this pack of cards that seemed to be totally blank, and I was very confused. I was very annoyed. I felt like I had just spent my hard-earned allowance money, and I bought this deck, and there wasn't anything on it. So then I went back to the magic shop, and I said, exactly what you said. I think maybe you guys made a mistake. Maybe you sold me something wrong. Maybe I could get my money back. And this one I learned my second important lesson in magic, which is that once you pay money at a magic shop, you can never get your money back. That's just how it works. They said, look, you spent your money, we sold you the trick, but we don't want you to think that we cheated you. I said, well, what do you mean? They said, remember what we told you it was. You can fan out the cards. Somebody can pick any one of those cards. They can put that card back anywhere they like. And even if they take and shuffle and mix up the pack while you're not looking, you'll always be able to name their card, and you'll always be right. And you don't need any practice, and you don't need any sleight of hand. And I thought about it, and I said, yeah, that's true. That is right. That is what this pack does accomplish. But then they said, you still look disappointed, Shriyash. What is it that you would really like to see in a pack of cards? And I said, well, I was hoping for a deck that had faces and backs on it, like the decks you guys are normally used to seeing. They said, well, this has faces and backs on it too, but you just need to tell us which ones you were thinking about. I said, well, I don't know, maybe the 6 of clubs. That's kind of an important card. And right when I said 6 of clubs, the guy in the magic shop said, look, the 6 of clubs is right there in the pack. Now, I had a suspicion that something sneaky was going on. This was a magic shop, and they said these were magic cards. So I took one more look through the cards just to make sure that none of them were actually anything sneaky. And I said, well, maybe he had that 6 of clubs up his sleeve, or maybe it wasn't there, and I just, I didn't see him introducing it. So then I immediately named another card. I was a precocious little kid. I said, well, what about the 3 of hearts? And right when I said 3 of hearts, he said, look, the 3 of hearts is also in the pack. Now, at this point, I became very confused. I felt like something very sneaky was going on, and I didn't know what it was. But then I noticed one thing about these cards that kept appearing, which is that they have faces, like any card should, but they have nothing on the back. And I said, well, I was kind of hoping for a deck that has faces and also backs. And he said, well, you should have just asked for it. I said, yeah, normal back design, like a red with angels and bicycles. And he said, it's right here. Right on the back of the pack where you would expect it. Now, at this point, I became very excited. I felt like it looked like a normal pack of cards with one face and one back. It was only when you went through in the middle that you realized that the rest of them were all blank. And I said, you know, that's good. One face and one back is kind of good. But I was hoping for every card to have faces and backs. And this is when the guy in the magic shop said, okay, Shriyash, if you want to see that, we'll try to make it happen for you. But we're going to do it very slowly and right in front of you with my sleeves rolled up so you don't think anything sneaky is happening. He did what I'm about to show you, just like this. He took the cards, he pushed them together like that. He showed his hands completely empty. He waved his hands over him, casting a shadow. He snapped his fingers, and he said, now they're all printed. Now, I knew better than to believe him, because earlier I had been fooled, so I said, I want you to show me. And he showed me, just like I'm about to show you, that all the cards were in fact now printed on both sides.
Oh.
Now this, yeah, that's exactly what I said. It was an experience that clearly changed my life and my career and everything else. So I was very excited. I felt like I had gotten a really good deal on some great magic cards. But I took them home. I started doing tricks for my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister. And they were a little bit happy at first that I was doing card tricks. Then my mom got tired of having to pick a card about 35 times a day. She's very patient, but that kind of tried her patience. And she said, you know, I'm glad that you have this new career and this new hobby, but frankly, I'll be happy if those cards would go back to being blank, just like they were in the beginning. And just when she said that, I looked, and they had all become blank again on both sides.
Oh. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say
that
anything.
kind of stuff
If you
just-
like, I can
It's
do something
beautiful.
else. Or
Please, keep
Okay.
right on going.
okay. So that's, in a sense, kind of a Western-style magic trick. It's, you know, with cards and something that you generally wouldn't see in India. This next thing I'm going to show you is kind of inspired by an Indian routine. Have you ever heard of the Indian rope trick, any of you?
Sure.
You have? Oh, you all have. Okay. Well, this is what I call the pocket version of the Indian rope trick. Now, clearly, we don't have the space to do a big, giant version of the Indian rope trick. But let me just tell people who haven't heard about it that there are 3 things you need to do the Indian rope trick. First, you need an Indian. And since I was born in India and I used to carry a passport, I think I should qualify as an Indian. And second thing, you need a rope. And luckily, I brought a little piece of rope along with me here. And then you need to do a trick with the rope. Now, some magicians, some American magicians, they cut the rope in half with scissors, or some of them tie the rope in knots. But you guys know that the Indian rope trick isn't really about that. It's actually about hypnotizing the rope and making it stand up in the air in a very strange way. Well, I forgot to tell you that I'll only hold it with one hand. Because if I'm holding it with 2 hands, I mean, that's pretty easy, right? So I would try to hypnotize the rope, make it stand up in the air, and I'll only hold it with 1 hand. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, on the count of 3. This is very strange. Old trick from India. We hypnotize the rope, it stands in the air, and I only hold it with 1 hand. Thank you very much. Okay, now, you're amused but not impressed, I can tell. You don't have to be a psychic to figure that out. It would be better if I was holding it down here, right, and it was actually standing up in the air like that. Okay, well, to make this work, I'm going to actually just reach down here and grab this little drum, which is what Indian street performers use for their performance, and I'm going to teach you guys the magic word. And the magic word is jadoo. Can you all say jadoo together?
Jadoo.
Good. Now that means magic in several Indian languages. So what we're going to do is if you can say jadoo, and I'll use this drum, then we'll actually hypnotize the rope and make it stand up properly. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All of you guys? Okay. Now let's see if we can make it happen. The rope will stand up, and if we did it right, there.
Oh.
Kind of in a defying gravity sort of way. Now, sometimes when people see something standing up in a way that it doesn't seem like it should, like when a magician makes a lady float in the air, he proves to you that there's nothing coming from the ceiling that can possibly keep that lady floating in the air. He does this by taking a solid steel hoop and passing it over the lady, as I'm about to do with the rope here. You can see this now gaps, right? It's a solid steel hoop, big hole in the middle, but other than that, okay, we pass it over the rope so that you can all see, and nothing sneaky, holding the rope up in the air. And when the trick is over, all I have to do is I'll wave my hands, and you say the word 1 more time, and it'll go back to being an ordinary rope. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Shadu.
And it goes back to being an ordinary rope, just like in the beginning.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, well, let's see. I'll show you, actually, this is a, let me see here. I've got a number of different tricks. This is actually a trick with a very ordinary object that I'd like you to check out. I did a trick with some trick cards. I did a trick with a magic rope from India, but this is just
It's a good old Office Depot pen.
cheap old ballpoint pen, right? I mean, nothing very sneaky about that. And you can, I mean, you saw it, right? You're happy. Okay. Now, normally, actually, there's something I do before I begin the trick, but I'll just go ahead and begin the trick here. You know, actually, what happens when we leave the top off of the pen too long?
Dries out.
Dries out, yeah. It's very simple. It wasn't a trick question. It's a very simple question. The pen dries up. So before I begin the trick, I just like to make sure it doesn't dry up, because maybe I have some more Christmas cards to write. Now, if I want to write with the pen, though, what would I have to do?
Take the cap off.
Take the cap off, and then I can write with the pen. Now, when I'm done writing with it, I don't want it to dry up, so it's very important that I keep the cap right back on the pen. And sometimes that's not as easy as it seems, because you go to where you think you left the cap, and it's just not there. Now, later on in the day, usually you do find the cap, and it's in a place that you just don't remember having put it. Now, let me...
I'm going to
It's
be
strange.
your best
You
fan.
are. You're amazing. This is very good. No, it's a weird thing. I mean, every time it happens to me, I get confused. But, you know, instead of just showing you the trick once and walking away, I want to show you how it works. And you say, well, maybe, you know, there's masked magician revealing tricks on TV. Why would I reveal the trick? I'm revealing it so you can see how it's done. It's done just like this. I'll do it very closely right in front of you. Can everyone see? Just like this. I'll actually roll up my sleeves so nobody thinks I'm using my sleeves. Like this. 1, 2, 3, and it just disappears. Now, it didn't go up my sleeves. It didn't go into any of my pockets or anything. But when I want to make it reappear, if I did it right, I just reach up there behind your ear, and there it is. Okay.
That's amazing.
All right. This time, I'll give you every benefit. I'll keep my hand open. You can see above, below, and all around. This is why people like close-up magic so much better. You can exactly get a feel of what's going on. Hopefully the cameras can see as well. Okay, we just go like this. 1, 2, 3. Did you see it go?
Oh.
And yeah, well, the cap's still there, but actually the pen has sort of disappeared. I'll have to find it somewhere. Is it behind your ear?
It's behind your ear.
Yeah? Okay. Maybe that was a little confusing. I'll do it in slow motion the last time. Very slowly, just like this, right in front of you. 1, 2, and on the third one, a little squeeze is all it takes. Make it disappear. But of course, it will dry up if I go home like this, so I'll have to make it reappear somewhere behind any of your ears. I'm not sure.
Oh, triage.
On
This
my
is
ear.
too, okay.
So-
All right.
You are
Thank you very
fabulous.
much.
Thank you
So-
very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I hope.
I'm going to
hope you
find
enjoy.
out what building you're going to be in.
Okay, yes,
Thank
please
you
come
so
see me at
much.
first night.
We sure will.
Okay. Take
And
care.
you again are,
Shriyash, Palshikar.
thank you very much. And lots of success to you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. We have to give you a big hand. I think you leave your audience open-mouthed and stunned. That's all I can say.
And I
Tell
think
it-
the kids at first night are just going to be wide-eyed. They're not going to know what to say.
Well, what
I
about
think
Kids
it'll
of
be a
all
wonderful
ages. Kids of all
success.
ages. He's going to actually be at the First Bank and Trust
Okay.
in downtown Evanston.
All right, wonderful. He's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all kids as far as that's concerned. We all love magic.
It's amazing.
And he's wonderful. What other acts or performers do you have that you can conjure up now?
Well, one of the things we're doing this year is kind of an homage to our 10th anniversary is a thing we're calling Music Through the Decades. And we are starting with the 20s with a 20s swing band.
How marvelous.
And then for each of the decades, 30s, 40s, 50s, on through the turn of the century, our century, we have a band that reflects the music that was most popular at that time. So we've got a 70s disco band with the big hair and the funky clothes, and an 80s band. We've got Michael Miles, who is a wonderful banjo player, doing some music and stories from the 30s. a rockabilly band from the 50s. They do a lot of Elvis tunes.
We
So-
Romania folk band. So,
Right.
Oh, you do you?
yeah,
Oh.
in the days of Pete Seeger and
Yeah.
you know, harkening back to the 60s.
Now, what again is your website?
www.firstnightevanston.org. You can buy admission buttons, which is this. You buy the one button, and that gets you into all of the venues. Cheapest gig in town. There's nowhere else you can go on New Year's Eve for only $12 a ticket and hear all this incredible talent and performance.
So in other words, the buttons get you into everything.
Exactly.
Right.
Now we have back with us my favorite musical group, Twang Bang, and tell us about your next piece that you're going to do.
This song's called Juanita. It was originally called My Baby, but we had too many songs that said My Baby in them, so we picked another three-syllable word.
Well, like all great rock and roll songs, it's on the subject of the subtleties of a romantic relationship, you can imagine.
Okay.
Shall we?
Juanita gets worked up.
Not at all. Juanita gets worked up. Not nothing at all. Well, every time she calls me on the telephone, she tells me that she knows I really love her a lot. Every time she calls me on the telephone, tells me that she knows I really love her a lot. And I had a sinking feeling that I'm gonna hit the ceiling when I hear about the stuff she bought on the credit card the other day. It doesn't matter anywhere. The morning I completely forgotten all about it. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. Hardly even need to do a thing to guarantee that my life is never dull. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. Well, just the other day she kind of went a little crazy when she told me that she harbored some doubt. That I think about her and that she's my number one priority that I can never live without. I listen to her every word and try to understand her and assure her that I think about her all the time. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. Juanita needs to do a thing to guarantee that my life is never dull. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. She flies off the handle like a crazy worried animal every time she calls. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. Well, almost every night she gets excited when I tell her that I'm happy just to hold her hand. And I never want to bother her to take it any farther because I'm sensitive and I understand. Then I accidentally touch her in the place between the shoulder blades and it practically sends her into space. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. I hardly even need to do a thing to guarantee that my life is never dull. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all. Juanita gets worked up about nothing at all.
Do you write your own songs?
Indeed, everything we do.
Everything you
Most
do?
of what we do.
That's great. How long have you been together doing this?
10 years.
I think we're talking about a 10-year anniversary. We don't keep very close track and we don't have very good memories, but I think it's been about 10 years.
You've been on National Public Radio in this country and Japan?
We've been in National Public Radio in this country and the equivalent of public radio in Japan, which is called BSN, actually. And we were on the Car Talk show on public radio here. They used one of our songs for a car talk.
A song called Driving Like a Maniac.
Yeah.
And you've also been the best of on Dr. Demento's.
One of our greatest achievements.
That was I Love My Baby If She Had Two Heads. More to love.
Song about unconditional love.
Well, can we do one more? And are all your mics on? I want to make
I
sure.
believe so.
Okay,
Gentlemen were pointing, saying one wasn't, but we
okay.
hear it.
Let's do one more.
Wasn't a song about what a kind of a passage of a rite of passage in these great United States called "I'm Moving Out of My Mom's House." I'm moving out. I'm moving out of my mom's house. I'm moving out. I'm moving out
of my mom's house. Where my mom don't let my friends always hanging around. So I got myself a place on the other side of town. Now we can stay up every night, and my mom don't have to know where a man's got to go, where a man's got to go. I'm moving out. I'm moving out of my mom's house. I'm moving out. I'm moving out of my mom's house. Well, I'm packing up, I got my clothes in a bag. I don't want to have to listen to her nag, nag, nag. She can see me on the holidays and get me on the phone. Well, I know my mama's really gonna miss me when I'm gone. I'm moving out. I'm moving out of my mom's house. I'm moving out. I'm moving out of my mom's house.
Martha, where are they going to be? Do you have any idea?
They're going to be all over. They're going to be floating around from place to place, but one of the main places that they'll be is at the Fountain Square Plaza stage. We have an outdoor stage, and they're going to be playing there throughout the evening. So I encourage everybody to come out and hear them.
That's great. That's just great. Oh, is this your first time at First Night?
Yes, it is. We're very excited about it.
And I bet it won't be your last either. Well, what do you two get out of creating this wonderful talent every year? It's got to be a wonderful experience.
Well, it is good, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide a family-oriented event for people from the Evanston and surrounding communities to be able to have a safe place to be where they can celebrate New Year's Eve as a family or with their friends, or, you know, it's great if somebody's on their own New Year's Eve. You know, there's lots to do as a single person or as a group, lots of things for all different people, and I think that's just a really good experience to be part of helping put that on.
Well, what's so wonderful is that everybody could see their music. Everybody can see our magician friend. It seems like young, old, and in between can enjoy everything, and it's so wholesome. What a wholesome experience.
We do.
That's why you're still involved. What about you? What does this do for you?
One of the things that I so appreciate is the ability to bring so much wonderful, creative talent to a wider audience. I think there's a lot of people in Evanston who might not buy a ticket to go see Twang Bang, or might not go buy a ticket to a concert from our opera group, but at First Night they can graze. They can walk around and taste a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and the chances are they're going to end up going to see one of those performers again, who they may never have had an opportunity to experience before.
Or they may never have known about these
Or
performers.
may never have even known about these performers.
Yeah, but now
and
they do.
it's just so wonderful to get the calls afterwards from people saying, gosh, where are they going to be performing again? And I'm always very glad to introduce those people to their website and let them know where their next concert or club gig is coming up.
Does this take a whole year beforehand to plan, I would imagine?
It does, Bobby. It's gotten to that point. It's a big enough event that I've got a couple of sponsorship grants that are due the end of January. So we'll be wrapping this one up, and I'm already thinking down the road to the sponsorship, to getting our committees going again that all start in about March, April of the year. And from there on, it just starts rolling and becomes a very full-time job by
I would
June.
think. How many stages do you have that night?
Well, we have 16. We have 15 indoor stages, and we have an outdoor stage at Fountain Square, which is right in the heart of downtown Evanston.
Do you always have that outdoor stage?
We do. We always have outdoor activities right at Fountain Square. We also have some ice carving and some other activities that are going on.
Fireworks.
Right. And of course, I don't want to forget to mention that we have fireworks this year at midnight, and they're right in downtown Evanston. So it's a great celebration. We also have a sparkling cider toast to the new year.
We're going to have to cut off, I'm sorry. Lois Rowade and Martha Rudy, Twang Bang, and our magician, who is Shriyash Palishkar. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time on Contempo. But before that, we'll see you at First Night. Thank you.
Well, if you were an oyster, baby, or pearl. And if you like ladies, I would still be your girl. And if I was the moon, you would be my sky. And if you were a man, you would still be my guy. I think the world of you. Well, if you were earth, baby, clay, I was sunlight, you would be my summer day. And if I was a pea,